Hey everyone, Ollie here. Welcome back to another video. Today I am excited, as always, because I've got a beautiful guitar. This is a new addition to the Ibanez 2020 range, in particular the very successful and popular AZ series. So this is the AZ242 from the premium range in Seafoam Green Matte. This is a guitar that, look, for me personally, I'm typically not a huge Ibanez fan, but I think the AZ series really does something magical for me. Super comfortable neck profile, a little bit bigger than your typical Ibanez neck, which for me I like. Stainless steel frets, Goto locking tuners, Goto bridge, Seymour Duncan pickups. Those are just a couple of features that sort of, you know, it gives a lot of ticks for me. But besides that, it's a really beautiful guitar. Matte finishes I find are especially comfortable. For me, it all has to do with the forearm when you're playing. It just feels nice. You don't get stuck like a gloss finish. So yeah, it's a cool guitar. Let's dive into some of the specs. So this has got an American basswood body. Basswood generally gets a bit of a bad rap when it comes to tone woods. I think it's because generally, on the whole, it's quite a cheap timber for manufacturers to buy, so a lot of people associate it with cheap entry-level instruments. But I think the fact that Ibanez have chosen to use this on their premium AZ models, and even, you know, guitar players like John Petrucci, like Steve Vai, like Joe Satriani, these are all artists that, you know, they may not be using it now, but in the past they have chosen to use basswood on their signature models, which I think, you know, says quite a lot about the timber itself. So if you can get a nice piece of basswood, it can be great. Generally, it's a very light timber. In terms of the sound, speaking of tone woods, it has, I'd say probably more in terms of the low and mid register, not so much in highs, such as, you know, a tone wood like Alder, which is what's used on the prestige level AZ models. So yeah, American basswood, it's quite a soft timber, I should say, as well, which means that generally it is quite prone to dings and knocks. Probably a bit more than a harder timber, so yeah, you might want to be careful with it. But I like to think when you're spending, you know, around about here in Australia, it's about $2,000, you're probably going to be taking care of your guitar anyway. Let's jump into the electronics and the hardware. What's cool is that Seymour Duncan and Ibanez work together to have these Hyperion pickups. So these are made specifically for the Ibanez AZ guitars. At the moment, it's not actually something that you can purchase as a separate product from Seymour Duncan, which I think is cool. It adds you know, a bit of exclusivity to it. In terms of the pickup design, they use an Alnico 5 magnet, which is extremely popular. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I am wrong, I think it's used in the JBM59 set, which is the Seymour Duncan set. I think Jeff Loomis uses them in his signature Blackouts, and probably a whole heap of other people as well. So great for rock and roll, great for heavy metal. When it comes to clean sounds though, like you'll hear a little bit later, I think it holds its own in terms of, you know, jazzy, bluesy sort of clean stuff too. pickups are great, but what is really, really cool is what Ibanez do in terms of the pickup selecting and sound switching. So we have a 5-way pickup selector, which is great already because it means, you know, we can have the bridge, we can split the bridge, we can have a middle selection to give us a real nice sort of rich, creamy, bluesy sound. We can split the neck and we can have the full neck. Now, you'll see here this tiny toggle switch. This is what's called the Dynamics. It's either a 9 or a 10, depending on what guitar you have. On this guitar, it's the Dynamics 10. It's basically a, you know, something to add a bit more versatility to each particular sound. So basically what it does is that it puts the single coil there in on whatever sound that you're in. So say for example, if you're on the bridge selection, then flicking the switch is going to basically, it's called power tapping if I'm not mistaken, basically going to give their version of splitting it. No, it doesn't give you an exact single coil sound, but you know, if you're looking for a guitar to give you that, get a guitar that has a single coil in the bridge. We basically got 10 different sounds, so a 10-way pickup selecting system, which is great. You've got heaps of versatility, a lot more than most double humbucker guitars out there. In terms of the bridge, we have a bridge from the good people over at Goto, similar to our locking machine heads. So comparing it back to the Charvel DK22 SSS that I talked about last week, that one has Goto's popular, I think it's called the G10T. G10T sounds about right, but we'll confirm that. Bridge, this is the I think it's the T1502 or T502 bridge that they use. This, again, like the Seymour Duncan Hyperion pickups, is made specifically for Ibanez by Goto, which I think is very cool. In terms of the actual arm itself, as opposed to Poppy-in, this one has more of a classic design, I suppose. So you just unscrew a little housing there, I suppose, and then it just pops right out like that. So yeah, I like it a little bit more than your pop-in style, but that's just me. In terms of the saddles, if we're talking about the premium versus the prestige models from Ibanez, so which will have the, if we're rolling with T502, T1, it'll have the 802 variant. Off the top of my head, the main difference is that the premium model has steel saddles and a zinc block, whereas the 802 on the Prestige model, that one will have titanium saddles and a steel block, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, this is probably one of the greatest things that Ibanez do. I'm not sure how many other manufacturers do it, but it is having these little slots here in the back of the cavity cover. I don't know why everyone doesn't do it, because basically, if you're like me, I mainly play, you know, Charvel Super Strats, or, you know, just typical Fender Strats. I always end up taking the back plate cover off, because they just have, you know, completely blank ones. There are no holes or anything, which means you can't make adjustments on the fly. This is great. It means you can slot the strings in without taking it off. You can make adjustments to the tremolo claw as well. So yeah, big tick for me. I'm always a fan of that on Ibanez guitars. In terms of the springs, I'll try and get a shot. They actually have, they seem like little rubber sleeves that go on the springs, which stop sort of any rattling or spring noise whenever you use the tremolo, which is great. In terms of the back of the body, the neck contour, you can see there's sort of quite a large section here that's beveled out to give you better upper fret access. I think it looks very sleek. Probably ergonomic is overall the word that I'd use to describe this guitar, which no doubt comes from its Japanese design. So yeah, that's great. The caramelized, sorry, I wouldn't say caramelized, probably roasted maple neck. Remember the Charvel Guthrie Govan model? It's been caramelized, it's been roasted, and it's been caramelized and roasted, and people are always a bit confused about it, so that explains my confusion at least. I'm going to go with roasted. So this is a roasted maple neck, which is very, very dark, as you can see, which I think looks lovely. Quite a striking color combination. Again, if we're talking about the premium versus the prestige, what Ibanez do on their prestige models, it's called S-Tech roasting. I'm not sure exactly what that process entails, but as far as I'm aware, we basically get longer roasting and at higher temperatures. Of course, roasting, the idea being to cook out all of the excess moisture to give us more of a stable wood, which is great. Moving up to the back of the headstock, much like the bridge, we have Goto locking tuners. Goto, of course, being one of the world leaders when it comes to guitar hardware, so you know it's going to stay in tune. And I should say, in terms of the trem use, obviously I haven't, I'm not going to be doing any dive bombs similar to last week with the Charvel, but with just like a bit of light tasteful use, it's held up quite well. I haven't really needed to tune it whatsoever, which is great. It may be because we've got, again, thicker strings compared to 9-42, what most Super Strat guitars usually come with, but it's been good, it's been reliable, which for me is probably one of the most important things. We'll start at the top of the headstock and work our way down. The AZ logo I really like on Ibanez guitars. I don't necessarily think the typical Ibanez logo would really suit. So yeah, I like that they've gone for that sort of flat gold with the black outline. I think it looks great. So on this guitar, we don't have a little thumb wheel adjuster like we do on the Charvel models. But I don't really have a problem because Ibanez give you this great little multi-tool that they also give you on prestige guitars, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, you can fold out, screwdrivers, you can flat out Allen keys, a little ruler for doing your fret leveling and all that. So yeah, thank you Ibanez, very, very cool, to make truss-rod adjustments. In terms of the nut, this is a Graphtec XL new bone, one of those things. A Graphtec nut, which is always good. They haven't gone for plastic on this one. Again, if we're talking about the prestige models, you're going to get, I think it's called an oil impregnated bone nut. I think oiling it, basically giving you a bit more security when it comes to string slipping. But I've never had a problem with these Graphtec nuts. They last a very, very long time, and as always on Ibanez guitars, it's cut very nicely as well. Probably one of the nicest features on this guitar when it comes to actually playing it, not just the 10-46 strings for me, but the fact that we've got jumbo frets and jumbo stainless steel frets, which I think is a great feature for this guitar at its price point. Again around $2,000 or so in Australia. Stainless steel frets last a very, very long time. They feel great. They look so nice as well. Super, super shiny, very eye-catching. So you've got 24 of these big jumbo frets, which I personally love. I love being able to really dig into the fret and really feel it. So yeah, a great feature. Moving on to the side of the neck, you've got loom inlay side dots, similar to the Charvels, the DK models. Again, a great modern feature for the modern guitarist, even if you're tracking in a dimly lit room, but especially if you're on a dark stage. The lights are all down, it's the keyboard's holding some chords and you need to do some epic lead part or something. You need to be able to see what you're doing. So yeah, I think that's great. I think I've talked about basically everything. If I'm going to compare it to the Charvel Pro Mod DK22 that I played last week, the main difference for me is probably the neck. This has an AZ, it's called an oval, I don't know if it's an oval C shape, but at least it's an Ibanez oval shape. It's slightly bigger. I'm a fan of big necks nowadays. I'm a fan of my USA Jacksons, which have big necks. I'm a fan of, you know, Strats with big necks. I'm gravitating more towards this neck. But ironically, if you like a more classic Ibanez neck, which is a lot slimmer, like the Wizard neck, you might like the Charvel better than the AZ. But, you know, depends what you're into. So, yeah, guys, this has been the Ibanez AZ. Ooh, before we go, I wanted to talk about this because it's something that's changed over the years. Now, Ibanez Premium guitars now come in a soft bag. Typically, you know, I think it was in 2019, they used to come with a soft case. But yeah, just so you guys know, this has changed. Look, it still does have nice padding. Of course, we've got storage for all of our accessories. So yeah, probably something to consider when you're factoring in. You might want to purchase a hard case, depending if you're going to be, you know, flying with it or doing any traveling. But in terms of, you know, going to the rehearsal studio, going to lessons and all that, it does the trick just fine. So yeah, as I was saying, this has been the Ibanez Premium AZ242 in Seafoam Green Matte. I'm very, very impressed. I'm not an Ibanez guy whatsoever, but I've really enjoyed playing this guitar. I've gelled with it very well, and I've gotten a lot of cool sounds out of it. So yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed it. My name is Ollie. Please let me know what you'd like to see in future, and if you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a thumbs up or even subscribe if you want to see what's coming in future. So thanks, guys. I'll see you soon.